Peace and blessings. Welcome back to the channel once again, where we talk all things health and healing from a holistic perspective, and today will be no different. Today I'm going to give you 10 of the most unhealthy foods that I'll never eat again, so I'm recommending that you should never eat again, okay? Now, the reason why I'm recommending you don't eat these foods is because these foods are what are highly connected to most of the chronic diseases that most people suffer from and end up passing away from. All of us have somebody in our family, we can raise our hand, that we know with hypertension, we know that have had a stroke, we know that have had diabetes, that have an autoimmune condition. The list goes on. And all of these conditions are things that are preventable. As a matter of fact, when we look at the statistics, somewhere between 75 and 87% of all deaths globally are caused by 5 chronic diseases. Just 5 chronic diseases, 75 to 85% of all deaths. Okay, so the foods that I'm talking about, you get rid of them, you're gonna reduce your risk significantly of suffering with a chronic condition, okay? And suffering with a chronic condition that could end your life early, that could decrease your lifespan, okay? These chronic conditions are preventable diseases. So when you hear people say heart disease runs in my family, when you hear people say diabetes runs in my family, these are preventable diseases. These aren't things that are bound strictly to genetics. The vast majority of what is causing these diseases to proliferate inside of families, inside of these family genetic pools, is the fact that families have the same eating habits, okay? Families have the same moving habits, okay? So it's not just that you share the same genes, it's also the fact that you share the same eating habits, the same things in your refrigerator, the same things in your cabinets, and also the same movement, the same, initial predispositions to it as well too. Because let's say, for instance, if your mother, your father lives their entire life with a vitamin D deficiency, or lives their entire life with an unhealthy gut, and then they procreate and make a child, then they have handed the child the genetics for an unhealthy gut, for a deficiency in vitamin D, okay? But that really has nothing to do with genetics directly. It's more of what is called epigenetics, okay? So again, 75% to 87% of all deaths globally are caused by five chronic diseases: heart disease, stroke, diabetes, cancer, and other heart conditions, and other respiratory conditions, okay? And so these are preventable. 51.8% of all US adults have at least one chronic disease, and 27.2% have multiple. So they'll have high cholesterol and high blood pressure, or diabetes, okay? And potentially having an autoimmune condition, okay? So multiple chronic conditions. And 7 out of 10 deaths in the US are due to chronic diseases. So 70% of deaths in America are due to chronic diseases. So what I'm saying is chronic diseases, A, are preventable, all right? B, they're being caused by the very foods that I'm about to talk about. So if you can eliminate these foods, okay, from your diet, then you not only increase your ability to be nourished and your ability to not be toxic, but you also increase your lifespan as well too. So this is hugely important. So without any further ado, we're gonna get into number one. The number one food, and I'm gonna say that this one's probably the highest priority. The number one food that you need to never eat again is ultra processed foods, okay? Ultra processed foods. As a matter of fact, when I say ultra processed foods, using the word food in the phrase is really a misnomer, because it's not food at all. And when you think about ultra processed foods today, when you walk into a supermarket, the vast majority of the supermarket is ultra processed foods, foods that are in box bag, cans, jars, filled with chemicals that you only really know what they are if you're a chemist, okay? And when you think about ultra processed foods, they are associated with a 21% increased risk of all causes of mortality. What that means is eating processed foods consistently, which most people do. When you go to the supermarket, box, bag, can, jar, 20 plus ingredients, many of them you can't pronounce, it increases your risk of dying from all causes of all-cause mortality, okay, by 21%. Okay, so getting rid of ultra processed food automatically is going to decrease your risk by 21%. And how many of us have heard about somebody in their 30s, in their 40s, in their 50s who was just fine, and then they had a heart attack and life was over? Okay, so getting rid of ultra processed foods is probably by far one of the most important things that you can do. And also because it's associated with 32 other harmful health effects as well too by eating ultra processed foods, because it just doesn't affect your gut, okay, and ruin your gut, but it increases inflammation systemically all over your body as well too. And the unfortunate thing is 70 to 80% of the SAD diet, the standard American diet, is ultra processed foods, okay? And ultra processed foods increase cardiovascular death, okay, by somewhere around 50%, all right? So it increases cardiovascular death by almost 50%. And it also increases anxiety, depression, somewhere around 48 to 53% as well too, okay? So just think about that. You are what you eat, all right? You eat food that isn't real, then you're not gonna be able to be real in terms of like being able to rejuvenate certain tissues in the body, to be able to have blood that flows and circulates like it should flow in the body. Okay, so it's just hugely important to understand. Number one is by far, in my opinion, the first agenda item is to get rid of fake food, which is ultra processed food. So that's number one. Number two, food you should never eat again, and in this case it means drink, is liquid sugar, okay? Any beverage that is a sugary beverage, get rid of it, okay? I guarantee you, if you get rid of sugary beverages, for most people, I've seen people just eliminate sugary beverages, the sodas, the energy drinks, the juices that aren't really juice. When you turn it on the back, it's like 2 to 3% juice. Even the juices that you find in the store that are calling it fresh juice, but it's coming from concentrate and it's been pasteurized, which means that it's not fresh anymore. Lemonades and things of that nature that have a ton of added sugar added to it. These are the kind of, even the beverages that say zero and no sugar, okay, that have these artificial sweeteners added to it, okay, and say no calories. All of these liquid beverages is what's leading to insulin resistance. They're leading to elevated blood sugar levels. And I'll tell you, the combination of elevated blood sugar levels and insulin resistance increases your cardiovascular risk significantly and all causes of mortality, okay? So getting rid of liquid sugar is gonna be another game changer that you can make as well too, okay? So the first one, ultra processed foods. Number two, liquid sugar, all right? What I tend to drink is water, okay? Coconut water, fresh juices. I make my own juices. So that's what I tend to drink, and herbal teas. That's it, all right? So if I can get fresh juice, if I can get coconut water or herbal tea, I'm good, all right? Outside of that, I don't need it sweetened. I don't need my herbal tea sweetened. I don't need even my juices sweetened as well either. I mean, they have natural sugar coming from the fruit itself, all right? So hugely important. All right, number three, now that was liquid sugar. I'm gonna say fruit juices. Now that's part of liquid sugar, okay? But a lot of people, the reason why I'm naming this as separate is because a lot of people are under the impression when they drink Sunny D or they drink these things that are called juices, they're not real juices. And anything that has been pasteurized or comes from concentrate is no longer what it was intended to be. It is no longer a healthy thing for you. Okay, so throw out juices. I won't even belabor that one. All right. Number four. Number four is processed meats and red meats. Okay. If you go to the governing body that determines what is and isn't carcinogenic, meaning it causes cancer, I do believe it's the IRAC. Okay. If you go to them and you look at the table and it tells you what is carcinogenic, processed meats and red meats are on the same level 1 carcinogen level with cigarettes, asbestos, and plutonium. Okay, so I know that that sounds crazy because in your mind you would never see, you know, asbestos in the store, you know, to be eaten, because we all know it causes cancer. Okay. And so you probably asking yourself, well, why would they allow it in a grocery store if they know that this is a level 1 carcinogen? Is that much of a severity when it comes to cancer? I can't answer that question for you, but what I can tell you is that it is a fact that it is. So getting rid of processed meats and red meats is going to prevent, long term, is going to prevent cancer as well too, but it's also going to prevent you getting diabetes, which is the number 1 cause for blindness, the number 1 cause for amputations, one of the number 1 causes for being on dialysis or having chronic kidney disease. Okay, so hugely important. Get rid of the processed and red meats, okay? Get rid of the meats in general, but definitely get rid of the processed and red meats, okay? Number 5, I would have to say number 5 is fried foods. And I know I'm giving you a gut punch now when I'm saying get rid of the fried foods, because everybody love a little crunchy. But what I can tell you is when you are deep frying foods, and it doesn't matter if it's vegetables, once you deep fry them, it's no longer the healthy thing that it was. Okay, so as much as possible, you want to eat foods in their original state. So make sure you eat a lot of foods in their raw state. Eat a lot of salads. Have a lot of fruits. Have a lot of, vegetables in their raw state. A lot of green juices, a lot of smoothies, things of that nature. Okay, because I'll tell you, the more and more, and you should take an opportunity that when you order your food, start to take account for how much food you're getting that is fried. And I think you'll be a little bit surprised on how much of this fried food you're actually adding in. And the unfortunate thing is these high temperature with low quality oils, because most restaurants cannot afford, you've gone out to the grocery store and bought, a bottle of avocado oil. It could cost you $12-16 just for a small bottle. Now imagine a restaurant having to buy gallons and gallons of that every day. They don't do that. They recycle the oil. And every time they recycle the oil, it gets more and more dangerous. Okay, so if you're gonna have fried foods, gently fry them, okay? Don't saturate them in a pool of grease. But I'll tell you, if you can get rid of, I would say if you're gonna have something fried, pan fry it, okay? And then I would say if you're gonna do that, do in a high quality, high temperature oil like an avocado oil, okay? But most of the things you get at the restaurant, trust me, they're gonna be in seed oils, okay? Which is my next one, number 6, foods that, these are oils you should never use, okay? A lot of people even have sun sensitivity due to the consumption of a lot of seed oils. A lot of people can't be in sunlight and they don't even know it's connected to the seed oils that they're consuming on a consistent basis. And it may not be the seed oil that you're buying at home, because you may not even have seed oils at home. But I guarantee you, when you go out to a restaurant, that's what they're using, because they're cheap, they're affordable. And I'm telling you, using high quality, high temperature oils is just very expensive, okay? So getting rid of seed oils is gonna be very important. because the way that they have to process seed oils, they use a lot of chemicals to do so. The oils are highly refined, okay? And as soon as that heat hits these oils, these oils are transforming into trans fats as well too, which are banned in other countries, okay? So it's hugely important for that reason. A lot of the seed oils are actually genetically modified as well too. So not only are you getting a genetically modified version of something in the form of an oil, but those genetically modified plants are also very sprayed as well too, with glyphosate and other chemicals as well too, pesticides, herbicides, and insecticides. And these seed oils are very high in what are called omega-6s. Not omega-3s, but omega-6s, which are pro-inflammatory. They cause inflammation in the body. And they include things like canola oil, sunflower oil, corn oil, soybean oil, palm oil, and everything that really comes from a seed. So when you get an oil, you don't want one that comes from a seed, okay? Like avocado actually doesn't come from the seed of the avocado. It comes from, the avocado fleshy part that you actually eat. All right, so that's what makes it better. And it's a high temperature oil. All right, so no seed oils. All right, number seven is cow secretions. All right, now if you check out my book, Vegetation Over Medication, I have a whole chapter where I talk about how scary dairy is. And I know that now a lot of you are going to want to box me about talking about dairy, because I know how much a lot of you love sugar. A lot of you love bread. Most bread is made with eggs and, dairy. I know how a lot of you love cheese, okay? So I know a lot of you want to box me up when I'm talking about no more cow secretions. But what I can tell you is that it's not only dangerous because cow's milk in any form, whether that be milk, cheese, yogurt, sour cream, the list goes on and on. When it comes from a cow, it's made from a cow, made for a cow. It's not really made for you. Okay, that's the first and most important thing. All mammals make breast milk for their young. All right. So that's the first and most important thing. The other thing is all cow's milk is coming from a dairy cow. All right. Now, they're not waiting until the cow gets pregnant, all right, to be able to produce milk. They are, in many cases, forcing these animals to be consistently pregnant for all of their lives to produce milk. And what that does is a cow that is always pregnant, the nipple of the cow is constantly getting infected and is constantly being inflamed. And when that happens, a lot of what is happening is that infected nipple is now creating pus, okay? That also ends up in the dairy as well too. So infection ends up in the milk as well too. Not only that, the dairy in America is banned in other countries. Dairy in America cannot be sold in another country. All right, so it's banned in other countries. That's hugely important as well too, because a lot of the cows are fed antibiotics because, again, the mastitis or the inflammation or infection at the breast of the cow is creating the infection, okay? So at the end of the day, what's happening to happen, they're giving a lot of antibiotics to fight that, okay? They're also feeding these animals a lot of soy, genetically modified soy, genetically modified corn, which they're not designed to eat. Cows eat grass, okay? So for many reasons, I can go into the fact that a lot of children are allergic to dairy. 76% of people of color are actually lactose intolerant. So this leads to gut issues. A lot of kids have asthma as a result of dairy. A lot of little babies, when you're feeding them dairy and that milk is running on the side of their mouth into their ears, and then they end up with an ear infection, and you never connect the fact that maybe it's the milk running into the ear, not the human breast milk. Okay, so that's hugely important. So Getting rid of cow secretions in your diet is not only going to help you maintain a healthy weight and make sure that your gut is healthy as well too, and make sure that you have a reduced amount of mucus in the body, because if you look at glue, back in the day when I was a kid, you look at the glue, on the front of the glue was a cow, because that glue is made from cow secretions. All right, so it's gonna help your health in so many different ways to get rid of cow secretions, AKA, you know, milk, dairy, yogurt, cheese, etc. All right, so excuse the background noise. I'm outside, can't control dogs. All right, you got 3 more. Number 8, genetically modified foods. All right, so if you just so happen to see on your food label, it may not say, it's definitely not gonna say genetically modified, because if you saw that, well, hopefully you wouldn't eat it, but it will say bioengineered, okay? That's not really a true statement, but that's what you're gonna see, bioengineered, okay? If you see that, and I see this very consistently in Whole Foods. I see a lot of products with bioengineered, ingredients in them, all right? Stay away from genetically modified foods, all right? They're overly sprayed with pesticides, herbicides, and insecticides. You could do your research on glyphosate and all of just do a quick search, glyphosate, and all of the lawsuits that have taken place. So you can put glyphosate, lawsuit, cancer, and do your research from there, all right? So you understand, if something is genetically modified, it is going to be sprayed, heavily sprayed. And I can tell you, I know that to be true, because although my farm is organic and all the fruits that we have there, well, let me restate that, because they've told me I can't even say that anymore. Although my farm is grown naturally from seeds, nothing is sprayed, everything is grown according to nature, okay? What I see around me is farmers, I use air quotes, in hazmat suits, completely covered, head, body, everything, spraying. You see them out there spraying everything, okay? That is nothing I would ever eat. If I gotta cover up like that to spray anything, rest assured I'm not gonna eat it. And if I gotta put on that kind of hazmat suit, then it's telling me that what I'm doing isn't right either, okay? So stop with the genetically modified foods. They're banned in Europe. 28 countries in Europe, they're banned. They're banned in Japan, they're banned in Russia, they're banned in China. They're banned in many developing countries except America, okay? So get rid of genetically modified foods, all right? So never eat those again, all right? If you see corn and soy, 90% is genetically modified, all right? So get rid of those, all right? Number 9, get rid of alcohol. Now, I know if earlier I gave you a gut punch, all right, so I know this is probably like a thump on the forehead. Get rid of alcohol. Now, here's what I'll say. I know that you have heard of studies that say a glass of wine a day is good for the heart, okay? I know that you have probably enjoyed, a glass of wine or whatever it may be. But I'm here to tell you that there are new studies that have come out that has confirmed what we already knew, that all forms of alcohol are a toxin to the body, okay? This is why when you drink enough of it, they say that you're intoxicated. And when you get intoxicated, sometimes you don't remember things. Sometimes you lose brain function where you can't see, you can't remember, you can't think. You lose coordination skills where you can't walk a straight line. So this is telling you that it is a toxin, okay? And some people will say, well, the devil is in the dose. But I'll tell you, just because you get to a certain dose level, and we call that drunk or intoxicated, and you stay below that and you're not drunk and intoxicated, does not mean that it's not doing damage. And it is. And I recommend you do a little bit of research on all of the new studies, because all of the new studies show that drinking alcohol causes the pancreas to release certain toxic substances, okay? And we all know that pancreatic cancer is one of the most severe and aggressive forms of cancer. Alcohol use increases your risk for cancer significantly, and even moderate use has been shown to increase all causes of mortality, meaning every form of mortality, it increases the risk for that as well too. It causes gut dysbiosis, meaning it ruins your gut. It could affect your brain as well too. And of course we know about liver damage. So me, that's my my decision is I don't drink. So initially that was a personal decision that I made in my life. And I didn't even make it initially when I cut out all forms of animal products, meat and dairy and things of that nature. I didn't even make it then. It was literally a personal decision, me saying, well, if I can't be out socially without a drink, then I shouldn't be out. So it really started like that for me. It had nothing to do with the health. And then when I got more informed about the new and recent studies years ago, that's when I said, okay, well, cool. This just validates why I shouldn't be drinking in the first place. So cutting out alcohol is going to not only increase your lifespan, but also reduce your risk of the big 5 chronic diseases that I was talking about earlier, okay? And then number 10, and this is an unusual one, okay? Now, I typically don't use the term vegan. I just don't like labels, okay? But that's what I mean, people could call me that if they want to, because that's how I eat. I don't eat any animal products. Everything is fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, right? If I had to take a honest look from the outside looking in to what's happened to the vegan community that has me a little bit concerned, is the fact that when I started this journey 13 years ago, there weren't a lot of like vegan products. If you wanted some AKA vegan food, it just meant you were eating plants, okay? So it really was whole foods, plant-based diet, okay? But since that time, since I would say 2018, when the documentary What the Hell came out, when that documentary came out and the whole veganism movement kicked off, and I think it became a little bit popular at the time, once that happened, I do believe that this is when companies took advantage of the fact that a lot of people were transitioning to a vegan lifestyle. And the same companies that make junk food like Oreos and Doritos and cookies, candies, and other processed foods that I'm telling you not to eat. Number one, no ultra processed foods. In my opinion, those same companies and companies like them have created so many vegan products that are just as worse as the ultra processed foods that I was running from in the first place. So number 10 is stay away from the vegan junk food. I can't tell you how many people I've heard say, well, I tried to go vegan, but it didn't work for me. But they were eating a whole bunch of fake meats and a whole bunch of cookies, candies, and vegan ice cream, and the list goes on and on. And so, of course, they should feel unhealthy because you're not eating food. You're eating air quote foods. It's Franken food. And so stay away from vegan junk food. Eat what Mother Nature intended for us to eat, okay? If you look behind me here, okay, I'm in Jamaica right now. That tree is an ackee tree, all right? So we got an ackee tree right there. You probably can't see behind there, but that's a Malay apple or OTET apple tree, okay? Eat real stuff that doesn't need to be sprayed or doesn't need a genetically modified seed or if you can even call that a seed. Eat real food, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. Eat real foods that come from nature. Because I'm here to tell you, vegan junk food is like jumping out of one frying pan into another frying pan. Okay, so, I keep it real with you. Like this whole vegan junk food, fake meats and all that kind of stuff. Now, can I make a mean, plant-based burger from natural ingredients? Oh yeah. But you start going to the supermarkets and getting this fake meat, I'm here to tell you, you're going down a slippery slope that's gonna lead you right back to where you came from, okay, if you thought you were eating healthy. So I hope this has been helpful in terms of like understanding what foods you need to never eat again. And listen, these are foods that when you don't eat them again, you're not doing yourself a disservice, okay? By transitioning to fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds and real foods that could not only provide the nutrients that you need at higher quantities, but also not come with all of the toxic chemicals and the toxic side effects that come from eating the other things that I talked about as well too. So if you've loved this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the like button, share this video. This is the time of the year that people are making shifts in their health, and they probably need to see this kind of video because I can just see people, running to the supermarkets, thinking that they're getting healthy foods because it has the little vegan label on the front of it or a plant-based label on front of it, but everybody's looking at the front label, nobody's looking at the label on the back. So I highly recommend you do that. And a lot of people are drinking all these juices and liquid sugar that they're not accounting for when they're accounting for the calories. A lot of people are still eating a whole bunch of dairy and not wondering why. They're still gaining so much weight, and they're still inflamed. So it's just important to understand what is actual healthy food, all right? And I can tell you, none of these are actual healthy foods. So until the next time, peace and blessings and Godspeed. Peace.